5 signs God is setting you apart before He elevates you. Picture a row of clay vessels, sitting quietly on a shelf, ordinary, similar, unnoticed. Then the potter walks in. He doesn't break anything. He doesn't discard anything. He simply reaches out, lifts one vessel from the row, and places it somewhere else. Not because it's damaged, not because it's inferior, but because it's about to be used for a higher purpose, one the others are not yet prepared for. That is exactly what happens when God begins to set someone apart. You're still in the same place, doing the same work, surrounded by the same people, yet something inside you is shifting. Nothing dramatic happened. No one abandoned you, but your mind and spirit no longer fit where they used to. You are not being left behind. You are being set apart. This is not a season of loneliness or meaningless silence. This is the careful stage where God begins upgrading your desires, your sensitivity, and the way you hear Him, long before He changes anything external. When God is preparing to elevate someone, He always transforms the inner life first. And if you're in that place right now, where things look the same around you, but feel completely different within you, take heart. You are in the hands of the potter. You are not being removed. You are being chosen. Today we're going to walk through 5 quiet but unmistakable signs that God is setting you apart before He elevates you. And if you recognize yourself in these signs, breathe deeply. You are not delayed. You are being prepared. Part 1. Your desires start changing faster than your circumstances. One of the clearest signs that God is setting you apart is this: your inner life starts moving ahead of your outer life. Your circumstances still look the same, but your heart no longer feels at home in the same patterns, the same way of living. Nothing around you has shifted yet, but something within you has. You wake up in the same house, go to the same job, sit at the same table. Yet there is a quiet restlessness that was not there before. Not the kind of restlessness that makes you ungrateful, but the kind that whispers, you were made for more than living on autopilot. You sense that God is holding your heart a little closer. No one is standing over you telling you what to do. From the outside, you look as if you are just carrying on with life. But inside, a different conversation is happening. You find yourself drawn to things that feed your spirit, and quietly losing interest in things that only distract you for a moment, and then leave you empty. Before God moves your position, He upgrades your appetite. Maybe you notice it in small, simple ways. You scroll through the same kinds of content, but now some of it feels hollow. You sit in the same group of friends, but the jokes that once made you laugh now make you feel a little out of place. You try to join in like before, but something in you stays quiet. You are not becoming cold or distant. You are simply waking up. Others may still be comfortable where they are. They can ignore certain things and feel fine. But you sense a new tenderness inside your spirit. You walk away from a conversation and think, that did not feel right. You finish a day and wonder, did I live today the way I was meant to, or did I just get through it? For many believers, this shift feels like a new hunger that does not go away. You want to pray more, not because you feel guilty, but because you feel drawn. You want to open Scripture, not as a duty, but because you sense there is something in those pages for this exact season. You crave quiet moments with God the way you once craved distraction. Your desires are changing faster than your schedule. And yes, this can feel uncomfortable. It is unusual to realize that what once satisfied you no longer does, to sit in the same room with the same people and feel like your heart is already walking a different path. But discomfort here is not a problem to fix. It is an invitation to notice. God is not shaming you for where you have been. He is gently calling you toward where He is taking you next. In this place, you might try to talk yourself out of it. You tell yourself, I am fine. Everyone else is fine. Why can I not just relax? But when God is preparing to elevate you, He will not let you stay comfortably asleep in a life that keeps you small. He will awaken your appetite before He adjusts your assignment. So if you feel that quiet shift inside you, honor it. Do not rush to silence it, just so you can blend in again. Pay attention to the new desires that are forming, and to the gentle dissatisfaction that points you away from what is shallow and toward what is deep. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming aligned. Your circumstances may not have caught up yet, and that is all right. God knows where you are and what He is doing. It is the work of a loving Father, preparing your heart for a future you cannot see yet. Your desires are changing because your destiny is real. Long before others notice anything different about you, heaven already knows you are being set apart. Part 2. You develop a sensitivity to things you used to ignore. Another sign that God is setting you apart is when your spirit becomes more sensitive than it used to be. It's not that life suddenly became louder or more sinful. It's that your heart no longer tolerates what once blended in. What used to feel normal now feels heavy. What used to entertain you now leaves you unsettled. You are not becoming judgmental. You are becoming tuned. There comes a moment in the life of every believer when the Holy Spirit begins to sharpen their inner senses. You start noticing the tone behind the words, not just the words themselves. You pick up on the atmosphere of a room, not just the noise. You feel a gentle pull away from conversations that lack grace or purity, even if nobody else seems bothered. This is not emotional sensitivity. It is spiritual maturity. You don't need a sermon to tell you something is off. You simply know a joke you would have laughed at last year now feels out of place. A show that once entertained you now dulls your heart. A comment that others dismiss stays with you longer than it should. And at first you might think, what's wrong with me? Why am I suddenly like this? But nothing is wrong. Something is right. This change is not about rules. It is about resonance. God is tuning your inner life to match where He's taking you next. Before He trusts you with greater influence, He adjusts your inner frequency. A piano doesn't sound broken when it goes out of tune. It simply needs recalibration so it can carry music again. That is exactly what God is doing in you. You may find that you instinctively withdraw from certain environments, not because you dislike people, but because your spirit feels heavy when you stay. You may pause before responding to someone, not because you are afraid to speak, but because you feel the weight of your words. You may carry a quiet grief over things that never bothered you before, not because you are fragile, but because you are awake. This sensitivity is a sacred gift. It protects your purity long before you realize you're being protected. It keeps your heart soft while the world grows careless. It makes you feel like you no longer fit in places where compromise is normal. If you have ever walked out of a conversation and felt like your soul needed a deep breath, you have tasted this shift. But here's an important truth. Being set apart does not mean withdrawing from people. It means refusing to live at a spiritual volume that dulls your awareness. Jesus ate with sinners, but He never lost His connection to the Father. You can love others deeply without lowering the sound of the Spirit inside you. So if you're in a season where your inner alarms go off more easily, don't fight it. Don't apologize for it. Don't shrink back just to appear easygoing. What God is cultivating in you is discernment, not discomfort. He is not making you overly cautious. He is teaching you to recognize what is healthy, holy, and aligned with His heart. And sometimes this sensitivity will reveal things about yourself too. Maybe you feel a check in your spirit before speaking sharply. Maybe you sense you should stop scrolling and go pray. Maybe you catch yourself in a moment of pride and feel conviction instead of shame. That is not God exposing you to condemn you. That is God loving you too much to let you sabotage what He's preparing. Because the truth is this: when God is setting you apart, He will not let you enjoy what was once harmless if it would eventually hinder your calling. He will disturb the peace of your old habits in order to protect the purity of your new season. And if you feel that happening inside you, take it seriously. A sensitive spirit is a sign of a guarded destiny. You're not losing your old self. You're outgrowing it. And the more attentive you become to those inner nudges, the more clearly you'll recognize the voice of God when He speaks. Sensitivity is not weakness. It is preparation. It is the evidence that heaven is training you for what earth cannot yet see. Part 3. God begins to train you in private instincts before public assignments. One of the most overlooked signs that God is setting you apart is that He begins shaping your reactions long before He expands your responsibilities. People often look for open doors, new opportunities, and visible promotion. But God usually starts with something far quieter: the way you respond when no one is watching. There are moments when you're about to speak, and suddenly you stop. Not because you're afraid, but because you feel the Holy Spirit whisper, "Not that way." There are times you could prove a point and win an argument, yet something inside you says, "Choose peace instead." You may not even realize it at first, but what's happening is training. God is forming instincts in private that will eventually carry weight in public. This kind of training is not dramatic. It looks like patience when you're tired, kindness when you feel unheard, self-control when your emotions want the final word. It's choosing humility when pride would be easier. These moments are easy to dismiss as personality or maturity, but in reality they are spiritual drills, rehearsals for assignments you haven't stepped into yet. Think of David tending sheep in the field. He wasn't holding a sword. He wasn't leading armies. He was practicing courage and faithfulness when no one saw. By the time he faced Goliath, the victory wasn't born on a battlefield. It had been forming in the private wilderness of obedience. That's how God works. Elevation isn't just about where God takes you, but about who you've quietly become by the time you get there. You may notice this training in your responses to offense. Where you used to defend yourself instantly, now you pause. Where you used to speak without thinking, now you slow down. You may still feel the urge inside, but something deeper in you holds steady. That restraint is not weakness. It is evidence that God is building a new reflex in you. And because it's private, nobody applauds. Nobody sees the battle you just won inside your own heart. But heaven sees it, and heaven takes it seriously. God does not overlook a hidden victory just because people never knew it happened. Sometimes this training feels like irritation. You're tested in small ways that don't seem important. Someone interrupts you, and you have to decide how to respond. Someone misunderstands you, and you have to choose whether to defend yourself. Someone else is praised while you are unnoticed, and you feel the sting of pride rise up, yet you let it go. These moments may feel insignificant, but in the kingdom they are weightlifting for the soul. This training also shows up in the way God teaches you to steward silence. Not every thought needs an audience. Not every feeling needs to be broadcast. Not every conflict needs your energy. The more God trusts you, the more He trains you to speak only when your words build life. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is say nothing. And here's something beautiful. God trains you in private, so that when He elevates you, you won't crumble under visibility. You don't need applause to validate you, and you don't need argument to protect you. You have been prepared by quiet mastery, not public hype. If you feel like lately every small situation is testing your character, don't be discouraged. God is not nitpicking. You are in training. The Holy Spirit is helping your instincts mature, so that when the moment comes, you won't need to think about doing the right thing. You'll just do it naturally, almost reflexively. Public elevation without private formation destroys people, but private training creates stability. God is not rushing your promotion. He is making sure your character will not collapse under the weight of it. So if your life looks ordinary, but your heart is learning deeper obedience, do not underestimate what is happening. You are being shaped for something your eyes cannot see yet. Every time you choose love over ego, restraint over reaction, humility over proving yourself, heaven takes note. Nobody else might recognize it, but the one who called you sees everything. And when God sees a person who can be trusted in private, He knows He can trust them in public. That is why this season matters. You are not being sidelined. You are being strengthened. The instincts you develop in hidden places will one day sustain you in visible ones. Part 4. God allows stillness, so you can hear the subtle instructions. There is a moment in the journey of being set apart, where things around you remain normal, but the noise inside you begins to quiet. The pace slows, the pressure lifts, not because life became easier, but because God is teaching you to hear Him differently. This is not a season of silence as punishment. It is silence as invitation. When God allows stillness, it is rarely dramatic. You may still have responsibilities, conversations, routines, and deadlines, but there is a gentle pause in your spirit, a sense that God has lowered the volume of everything else, so His whisper can finally be heard. You begin to notice His guidance, not through thunder, but through clarity, not through signs in the sky, but through the steady peace in your heart. In this kind of stillness, instructions don't always come as full blueprints. Sometimes it's just a sense of what to step away from. Other times it's a quiet certainty about the next small step. You may not know the whole plan, but you know what obedience looks like today. And that becomes enough. If you've ever wondered why God didn't speak sooner, it may be because your life was too loud to hear Him. We often ask God for direction while living at a pace that leaves no room to receive it. So He slows us, not to stall us, but to synchronize us. The stillness is not inactivity, it is alignment. Think of Elijah on the mountain. The wind came, the earthquake came, the fire came, but God was not in any of them. The voice of the Lord arrived in a still, small whisper, and Elijah heard it only because the noise had finally passed. That is how God trains you for elevation. He teaches you to hear instructions that others would miss, because they only listen for dramatic moments. In this quiet space, you may realize that the answers you were searching for were already inside you, buried under anxiety, hurry, and distraction. With the noise gone, the Spirit begins to bring things to the surface. You see where peace is pulling you. You see what no longer aligns. You feel clarity forming not through pressure, but through presence. And yes, there may be days when the stillness feels empty, when nothing seems to happen, when you wonder if God is even speaking at all. But silence from God is never absence. It is often preparation for deeper listening. The stillness trains your spirit to recognize His movement without needing to be rescued by emotion or excitement. This is where many people grow uncomfortable. We're used to productivity, action, visibility, and measurable results. Stillness feels wasteful, but in the kingdom, stillness is strategy. When God slows you down, He is not reducing your purpose. He is narrowing your focus. He is making sure the next step you take is led by His voice, not by your habits. And here is the hidden gift. Once you have learned to hear God in stillness, Noise will never have the same power over you again. You will be able to discern his voice in busy rooms, stressful moments, crowded decisions, and unexpected storms, because your ear has been trained in the quiet. So if life feels like it has slowed without explanation, if you sense a gentle pause in your spirit, don't rush to fill it. Don't run from the stillness. Lean into it. Ask, Lord, what are you whispering in this space? You may not hear words. You may only feel a peace that guides you. But that peace is often the instruction. This is preparation, not punishment. You are not stuck. You are being tuned. God is clearing the frequency so that when he speaks, you won't miss a single word. And the person who learns to move at the pace of God, not the pace of pressure, is the person who will be ready when the next door finally opens. Part 5. You feel an inner readiness that doesn't match your current stage. There comes a point in this process where nothing around you has visibly changed, and yet something inside you says, I'm ready. Not impatient, not anxious, just ready. It's a quiet readiness, deep and steady, the kind that doesn't need proof or confirmation. You sense that the ground beneath you is the same, but the person standing on it is not. It's a strange feeling to carry, because from the outside, your life still looks ordinary. There's no promotion yet, no spotlight, no dramatic moment that announces a new season. But inwardly, you feel like God has already shifted something. Your spirit stands taller. Your thoughts feel clearer. Your heart is calmer. It is as if God has already opened the room inside you before he opens the room around you. Some people describe it as a sense of holy anticipation, not wishful thinking, not daydreaming, just a settled confidence that your preparation is not wasted and your waiting is not pointless. You are not restless. You are aligned. You are not pushing your way forward. You are simply aware that when God says go, you will be ready to move. This readiness often appears without any sign that it's time. No big announcement, no opportunity yet, no shift in circumstances. And that's what makes it so supernatural. It's the Spirit of God preparing you internally before anything external arrives. You walk through a normal day, but everything in you feels like it's standing at attention. Sometimes it shows up like this. A situation arises, and you realize you would have reacted differently last year, but now you respond with wisdom and peace. Someone comes to you for advice, and words flow from your heart, like a river you didn't even know was there. You face a challenge, and instead of fear, you sense faith rising so naturally, it surprises you. That's readiness. It's evidence of quiet formation turning into strength. And here's the beautiful part. When this readiness is real, you do not feel the need to rush ahead or force anything. There is no desperation, because you trust the timing. You don't chase elevation. You simply live ready for it. You don't beg to be seen. You walk like someone who already knows God sees. You don't cling to opportunities. You stand grounded, knowing the right ones cannot miss you. This is often the moment right before God moves. Not always immediately, but the Spirit recognizes the turn before the eyes see it. Just as a seed breaks open underground long before it breaks through the soil, God completes his work in you privately before revealing it publicly. By the time others say you're different, heaven has already known it for a while. And if you feel this inner readiness now, as if something is about to shift, though nothing has yet, don't ignore it. Pay attention. Thank God for it. Lean into it. You are sensing what the Spirit is already announcing in the unseen. You are not imagining things. You are not being dramatic. You are being prepared. For some, this readiness will lead into a new assignment. For others, it will deepen your impact right where you are. For some, it may look like a door opening. For others, it may look like a season of influence that unfolds quietly, but powerfully. But regardless of the shape it takes, here is the truth. God never awakens readiness without purpose. So stand with confidence, but stand with humility. Stay hidden in His presence, but stay alert in your spirit. Live today like someone God is already trusting with tomorrow. Because when the moment comes, you won't need to scramble or strive. You will step into it naturally, like a person who has already been living from the place they are about to enter. And when that time comes, it will be undeniable, not because you forced it, but because you were already prepared for it. That is the beauty of being set apart. God builds the readiness before He reveals the reason. Conclusion. If you have recognized yourself in any of these signs, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not behind, and you are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. God is not holding you back. He is holding you steady. He is doing the kind of work that cannot be rushed. The kind of work that only makes sense in hindsight. The kind of work that shapes people who carry His presence rather than chase positions. Being set apart is not about isolation. It is about intention. It is God placing His hands on your life and saying, I am not finished forming you yet. But when I am, the world will see what I have been shaping in the quiet. That is why your desires are changing. That is why your sensitivity is increasing. That is why your inner world feels different, even when your outer world doesn't. You are not losing your fire. You are learning to burn in a different way. There will come a moment when what God has done inside you begins to align with what He is about to do around you. You may not see it coming. You may not feel ready in the natural, but the preparation will meet the timing. And you will know this was never random. This was never wasted. This was the work of a Father who knows exactly when to reveal what He has set apart. So walk forward with peace. You don't need to fight to be seen. You don't need to force your way into rooms God has not opened yet. Elevation is not something you chase. It is something that arrives when the preparation is complete. And when that moment comes, you will not need to strive for it, because it will feel like stepping into a place you've already been living inside. Breathe deeply. Stay sensitive. Stay steady. Stay surrendered. God is not done with you, not even close. And when He decides the time is right, He will not just lift you up, He will reveal the person He has been forming all along. What He sets apart, He elevates. What He prepares, He releases. And what He begins, He always finishes.